the grand tapestry of Disney's The Lion King, the story of Simba's rise is a tale we all know and love. But what about the shadow that looms long after the villain has fallen? Today, we're diving deep into the Pride Lands to explore a less-told story, the enduring and complicated legacy of Scar, and how it continued to shape the kingdom and Simba himself long after his fiery demise. Scar wasn't just a one-off villain. He was a master manipulator, a charismatic revolutionary who preyed on the discontented. His reign, though brutal, was built on a promise of change for those who felt marginalized. Like the hyenas, he tore down the established order of the circle of life and replaced it with a system of gluttony and so. When Simba returned, he didn't just inherit a kingdom. He inherited a kingdom fractured by years of famine, mistrust, and the lingering echoes of Scar's ideology. Think about it. The Pride Lands were ecologically devastated. The herds had fled. The very ground was scarred. Simba's first challenge wasn't just being king, it was being a crisis manager, a healer of a land pushed to the brink. This physical devastation was a constant, visible reminder of his uncle's destructive rule. Every barren patch of land, every hungry belly, was a testament to the failure he had to overcome. He couldn't just say, "I'm king now, everything's fine." He had to actively rebuild, proving his worth not just through his bloodline, but through his actions. But the scars weren't just on the land, they were in the minds of his subjects. Scar ruled through fear and division. He turned neighbor against neighbor, lion against hyena. When Simba returned, he had to mend these deep societal wounds. How do you rebuild trust in a community that was taught to be selfish to survive? How do you reintegrate those who may have, out of desperation or ambition, supported Scar? These are complex political challenges that go way beyond a simple Hakuna Matata philosophy. This is where the story gets really interesting, especially when we look at the expanded universe, like the Lion Guard. This series introduces us to the concept of the Outlanders lionesses, fiercely loyal to Scar, led by the formidable Zira. They weren't just random villains. They were a political faction, a Scar loyalist movement. They saw Scar not as a tyrant, but as a wronged leader, and Simba as a usurper. Zira and her followers are the living embodiment of Scar's legacy. They raised their children, including Kovu, on a diet of hatred and revenge. They believed in Scar's vision of strength and power above all else. Their existence proves that an idea, even a destructive one, doesn't just die with its creator. It lives on in those who felt empowered by it. For Simba, this meant his past was literally coming back to haunt him. He couldn't just rule. He had to constantly defend his throne and his philosophy against an enemy fueled by his uncle's memory. Now let's talk about Simba himself. His entire life was defined by Scar. First, by the trauma of his father's murder and the guilt Scar manipulated him into feeling. This drove him into exile, shaping him into the carefree but irresponsible young adult we meet in the jungle. He ran from his past, trying to forget the shadow that haunted him. But even after he defeated Scar, the shadow remained. As king, Simba became cautious, sometimes even paranoid. Think about his initial reaction to Kovu in The Lion King 2. He is immediately suspicious and Why? Because Kovu looks like Scar. He was chosen by Scar, and he comes from the people who still worship Scar. Simba's judgment is clouded by the trauma his uncle inflicted. He sees Scar in every potential threat. This overprotectiveness, especially towards his daughter Kiara, is a direct result of his own past. He lost his father and almost lost his kingdom because he was naive. As a king and a father, he's terrified of history repeating itself. He builds walls, both literal and emotional, to prevent another Scar from ever rising again. In a way, Scar's actions forced Simba to confront the darker aspects of leadership, the need for vigilance, the burden of suspicion, and the difficulty of trusting others. He can't afford to be the naive prince he once was. And then there's Kion, Simba's son, in the Lion Guard. Koyon is literally gifted with the roar of the elders, a power that Scar himself possessed but lost when he used it for evil. This is a brilliant piece of storytelling. It shows that power itself isn't inherently good or evil. It's about how you use it. Kion has to constantly grapple with this, learning to control a power that corrupted his Every time Cayenne uses the roar, it's a subtle reminder of Scar's failure. Scar used it to destroy his lion guard, leading to his own downfall. Cayenne, in contrast, uses it to protect the circle of life and unite his friends. The show is a multi-season arc about the new generation actively choosing a different path, consciously rejecting the dark legacy that Scar left behind. Scar's Ghosts is a cautionary tale for Cayenne, a constant reminder of what happens when you let power and resentment consume you. What's truly fascinating is that Scar's legacy forced the Pride Lands to evolve. The conflict with the Outlanders and the Lion King to Docenti end with a simple victory. It ends with Kiara and Kovu bridging the divide. It ends with the understanding that we are one. This resolution would have been impossible without the initial schism created by Scar. His evil actions inadvertently created the circumstances for a more inclusive and unified kingdom to emerge. The final merging of the prides is a direct healing of the wound that Scar created. So, when we rewatch The Lion King, let's see Scar as more than just a memorable villain who sings a great song. He is a catalyst. His actions ripple through generations. He is the ghost that haunts the throne, the trauma that shapes Simba's reign, the ideology that fuels his enemies, and the cautionary tale that guides his children. Simba's journey doesn't end when he takes his place on Pride Rock. In many ways, that's when the real work begins. He spends the rest of his life not just ruling, but actively fighting the shadow of the king who came before him. He has to prove, day after day, that the light is stronger than the darkness, and that the circle of life is more resilient than any one lion's ambition. Scar may have lost the battle, but his legacy ensured that the war for the soul of the Pride Lands would continue for a long, long time. What do you think? Is Scar's enough to hate? But what if I told you that Scar's story, his rage, and his ambition didn't just come from nowhere? What if his dark legacy was forged by an even more terrifying lion, a forgotten tyrant who cast a long shadow over the Pride Lands? Today, we redive in deep into the lore to uncover the story of Scar's past and his connection to the most brutal leader the lions have ever known, the legendary Scar King. This is a tale of betrayal, power, and a name that carries a dark destiny. Get ready, because the Pride Lands have secrets you never imagined. So, who was the Scar King? To understand his impact, we have to travel back in time, long before Mufasa and Scar were even born. The story comes from a book series called The Lion Guard, which expands the universe in incredible ways. According to this lore, the Scar King was the leader of the very first Lion Guard. Now, the Lion Guard is supposed to be the team of the Pride Lands' fiercest, bravest, and strongest, tasked with defending the circle of life. But this leader was different. He was powerful, yes, but he was also arrogant and hungry for more. He believed that with his strength and the powerful roar of the elders, he shouldn't just be a defender. He should be the king. He went to his brother, the reigning king at the time, and demanded he step down. He argued that might makes right, and that his power with the roar proved he was the one destined to rule. Of course, the king refused. He understood that true leadership is about wisdom and respect for the balance of nature, not just brute force. Enraged by this rejection, the Scar King made a fateful decision. In a fit of pure fury, he turned the roar of the elders as a gift, meant to protect the Pride Lands against his own brother and the entire Lion Guard, destroying them all. But using the roar for evil comes at a price. The great kings of the past stripped him of this power, and in his rage and shame, he was given a new name, one that would forever mark his betrayal. In Swahili, askari means soldier or guard, a bitter reminder of the noble role he had abandoned for his own selfish ambition. From that day on, he was an outcast. He was forced to live in the shadows, a disgraced former hero who had murdered his own family. He became a cautionary tale, a ghost story whispered among the lions to warn them about the dangers of pride and ambition. And this is where our Scar, the one we know, enters the picture. Before he was Scar, he was Prince Taka, and as the second-born son, he lived in the shadow of his older brother Mufasa, who was destined to be king. Taka was clever and ambitious, but he often felt overlooked and undervalued. Sounds familiar, right? He looked for ways to prove his worth, to show everyone that he was just as capable, if not more so, than Mufasa. One day, Taka met a mysterious lion who told him stories of the Scar King, painting him not as a villain, but as a misunderstood visionary. This stranger convinced Taka that true power was his for the taking, and that the roar of the elders was the key. Egwadeds Taka. Planting seeds of jealousy and resentment. He told Taka to challenge Mufasa to prove his dominance. Driven by these dark whispers, Taka tricked Mufasa into a confrontation with a herd of buffalo, hoping his brother would be humiliated. He planned to use the roar to defeat the buffalo and emerge as the hero. But the plan backfired spectacularly. Taka lost control of the roar, and in the chaos, he was attacked by one of the buffalo, receiving a deep gash over his eye, a permanent scar. When he returned, defeated and injured, he expected sympathy. Instead, his father, King Ahadi, coldly nicknamed him Scar as a reminder of his failed, jealous plot. This was the turning point. The physical scar was a symbol of his emotional wounds, his father's disapproval, his jealousy of Mufasa, and his burning sense of injustice. The name Scar wasn't just a nickname. It was a brand, a constant reminder of his failure and humiliation. Imbra Italiano. He let the bitterness fester, and Taka, the young, insecure prince, did that day, replaced by the cunning, vengeful Scar we see in The Lion King. He was no longer just Taka. He was walking in the footsteps of the original Scar King. Now, let's connect the dots. The parallels are chilling. Both were second-borns or held a secondary position of power. Both were deeply jealous of their brothers who were king. Both believed they were entitled to rule because of their superior intellect or strength. And most importantly, both were tempted by an outside force that preyed on their insecurities. The Scar King was driven by his own arrogance, while Scar was manipulated by a stranger. The stranger, it's heavily implied, was the spirit of the original Scar King himself, reaching out from the shadows to corrupt another generation and finish what he started. He saw in Taka the same ambition and resentment that once consumed him. This adds a whole new layer to Scar's villainy. He wasn't just a simple, jealous brother. He was the puppet of a vengeful, ancient evil. The original Scar King couldn't rule, so he sought to destroy the lineage of the brother who had cast him out. By corrupting Taka and turning him into Scar, he was enacting a long-term revenge plot against the royal family. Scar's reign of terror, the decay of the Pride Lands. But in reality, he was just another piece in a much older, darker game. He was fulfilling a prophecy he didn't even know existed. Think about the moment Scar gets his scar. The stranger who manipulates him is accompanied by a venomous cobra. This cobra bites Taka's eye, and the venom intensifies his anger and paranoia, pushing him further to the dark side. This isn't just a random animal attack, it's symbolic. The venom represents the poison of the Scar King's ideology seeping into Taka's soul, corrupting him from the inside out. When he later takes the throne, Scar doesn't rule with wisdom. He rules with an iron fist, just as the original Scar King wanted to. He lets the hyenas run rampant, disrupting the circle of life and turning the beautiful Pride Lands into a desolate wasteland. He's not just a bad king. He's actively destroying the very principles his ancestors fought to protect, completing the Scar King's ultimate revenge. So, Scar's story is much more than a family feud. It's a generational curse. The name Scar itself is a title of disgrace, passed down from a forgotten tyrant to a manipulated prince. It represents a legacy of jealousy, betrayal, and the corrupting influence of power. Scar didn't just choose his path. He was guided down it by a ghost from the past. It makes him a more tragic figure, doesn't it? He's still a villain, absolutely. But he's also a victim of a much larger, more ancient evil. He's the final, tragic chapter in the story of the Scar King's rebellion. And it has this hidden history that makes the world of the Lion King so much richer and more complex than we ever thought. What do you guys think? Does this connection make Scar a more compelling character for you? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I love diving into these theories with you all. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content, exploring the hidden corners of our favorite stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.